So, after 2.5 years of deadlock, political drama, and enough candidate eliminations to make reality TV jealous, Lebanon finally has a new president, General Joseph Aoun. And who do we have to thank for this consensus choice? None other than the United States of America and Saudi Arabia, who is so graciously guiding us Lebanese towards unity. Well, their version of it, at least. Let's be clear, General Aoun didn't exactly rise to power on the wings of a national movement nor a popular mandate. No, his candidacy was the result of an American and Saudi pressure, bolstered by French nods of approval and Qatar's quiet exit from supporting other candidates. The message was simple. It's Joseph Aoun or it's chaos. And let's face it, chaos isn't exactly a new concept in Lebanese politics. Now, credit where it's due, Hezbollah and its allies, the resistance camp, played their cards well. Initially, they had their eyes on their own candidate, Sleiman Frangieh, but it became clear he was no longer viable after the Israeli entity Lebanon war shifted the political chessboard. Frangieh, ever the pragmatist, stepped aside, allowing the resistance bloc to regroup and negotiate. They didn't love Aoun, but they didn't block him either. Instead, they strategically handed over enough votes in the second round to secure his election. A calculated move showing they can adapt and still play kingmaker when the situation demands. As for Samir Ja'sha''s Lebanese forces and their allies, well, let's just say their anti-Aoun campaign didn't quite pan out. They tried to float compromise candidates and strike deals, but their inability to agree among themselves left them sidelined. Ironically, in their quest to block Aoun, they ended up ensuring his path to Baabda was clear. And what of Joseph Aoun himself? He's already playing the unity card, insisting he's not beholden to anyone and can work with all factions from Hezbollah to the Kataib. A lovely sentiment, really. But here's the catch. Lebanese politics doesn't do neutral. The sectarian system and entrenched alliances will test his unity claims the moment he sits down with MPs to discuss the next prime minister. So, is Aoun the unity president Lebanon desperately needs, or is he just the latest in a long line of leaders installed by foreign powers with a polite nod to domestic politics? Time will tell. But for now, Washington and Riyadh can toast their victory. Hezbollah can claim it outmaneuvered its rivals. And the Lebanese people? Well, they'll wait and see if this presidency brings anything more than business as usual. Welcome to the Middle East Stream. I'm Marwa Osman. After years of political paralysis, Lebanon finally has a president. But General Joseph Aoun's path to Baabda wasn't exactly driven by popular demand. It was carved out by US and Saudi influence, with a strategic assist from Hezbollah's parliamentary maneuvers. Is this the unity leader Lebanon has been waiting for, or just another chapter in the nation's history of externally influenced politics? To discuss this issue with us from Beirut right here is Dr. Ibrahim Moussawi, Lebanese member of the parliament for the loyalty to the resistance bloc Hezbollah, who actually casted a ballot vote last week for the president. I hope you're doing well, Professor. Hezbollah and its allies ultimately facilitated the election of General Joseph Aoun by providing votes in the second round of the elections. What was the strategic calculation behind this move, given that Aoun was widely seen as a candidate backed by the US and Saudi Arabia?
Well, thank you for giving the opportunity first, and good morning for all the spectators. Actually, we in the party have always called for agreement among the Lebanese. We have always called for the national aggregation and for the national congregation and the harmony of the different parliamentary blocs and the different confessional factions in the country. And we have asked and we have called and we have worked hard in order to bring a candidate that would be in a position to correspond to all the requests of the different mosaic of the Lebanese society. What happened actually is that we wanted to send a message, a very clear message, that we have no problem with General Aoun. We have always coordinated our efforts together when it came to South Lebanon and all over Lebanon. We know him very well. We know that he is the leader of the army, and there has always been a kind of coordination between the army and the resistance. And we are the people who ask always for the equation of army, people and resistance. This, if you want, a tripartite or this golden rule has always helped Lebanon and helped protect and defend Lebanon against the enemies, against the Israeli occupation, against the Israeli aggressions. So it was very normal for us that when he has come to be a candidate to the presidency, we supported him. First, we wanted to send a message to tell all the others that it's not that they are capable of voting and bringing him to the office, and we knew this kind of propaganda that has taken place a day before when they said that he has yielded more than 81 votes, and then it happened that it's only 70s and the 70s, and we supported him, we and Amal movement, the parliamentary bloc that is being headed by President or by Speaker of the House Berry. We supported him, and this has come as a result of an agreement with the President about guidelines for the coming future. When this agreement has been fulfilled and finalized between Amal and Hezbollah from one side and the President in the other side, we came and we casted our ballots, and he is now the president. Congratulations.
Well, I don't know how much we should be congratulating one another when we know that General Joseph Aoun has positioned himself as a unity president, claiming to work with all the factions, including Hezbollah. However, with the US and Saudi backing shaping his candidacy, and now we touch it with the upcoming prime minister selection, how does Hezbollah plan to engage with his presidency to ensure Lebanon's sovereignty is preserved, especially in the face of potential Israeli entity aggression?
Well, actually, we don't want to go into judgment of the intentions. What we really need to see happening is a kind of gathering, a kind of agreement, a kind of consensus. And this is what we are working for. We support all the efforts in order to facilitate the way before the government, the new government, and before the new president. And we believe that we have to have the good intentions, and we have to have to be hopeful and about the future, and we will do everything possible under the, if you want, the umbrella of the internal and national agreement in order to gain, in order to help this new government and this new president to come into a place where they or he could fulfill all the promises that he made.
But at the same time, one of the promises that were made were supposedly also a unity prime minister, and we're not seeing that at the moment. There are certain troubles in paradise, are there not?
It is in the making now. Let me tell you one simple thing. We're not talking here about a society, I mean the political society, that is in complete harmony with each other. We know very well that there is a political division, a very huge raft in the vertical division of the different Lebanese constituencies when it comes to many different issues. But we, in our part, we have always to help in order to bridge the gap. And this is what we are doing. Now there are these kind of consultations with the president and all of the Lebanese parliamentary blocs and all the Lebanese parliamentary figures, those who do not belong to a certain bloc, they go to Baabda because there is a schedule from now till afternoon, and they have to nominate who they want for the government to be the premier of the country. And we know there is a division. There was a kind of agreement between so many different blocs about as to bring Miqati to this place, Premier Najib Miqati. Now there is a kind of rift that has been taking place now. There is a kind of coup, as they say. But we want to wait before, and we don't want to rush or jump into conclusions. Let's wait and let's hope that this thing could be fixed early enough as not to go into any kind of a crisis before the new presidency begins.
Well, Dr. Moussaoui, the election of Joseph Aoun is being framed as a victory for foreign influence in Lebanon. How does Hezbollah reconcile supporting a candidate with strong U.S.-Saudi ties, and what safeguards does the resistance bloc have in place to ensure that Lebanon's internal stability and regional alliances are not compromised?
Well, I mean, we have no problem with certain candidates who have good relations with Saudi Arabia, with all the Arab countries, or even with the United States. We have always said that, for example, we are the friends or backed by Iran. We use and we break down all this into a backup and support to Lebanon. And we ask others, if you are good friends with America, fine. Come and bring and make this boil down into the interests of Lebanon. And we have so many examples about it. Iran has always offered to build power plants to the country, was ready to help in different areas.
The U.S. has never offered anything.
But the U.S. has never accepted. The U.S., it's not that it never offered anything. We have challenged them. We told them, Iran is ready to build power plants. Go and ask the U.S., and the U.S. is more powerful and more affluent, and we know it's a superpower. Let's help us in this. And they didn't do it, actually. What I want to say, we have no problem with the president having good relations with Saudi Arabia or with any other country, as long as this boils down to the interest of Lebanon, as long as this is not in a contradiction with the Taif agreement, as long as this is going in complete harmony with the, if you want, the aspirations of the different or the mosaic of the different sites in Lebanon. So it is no problem by itself, as long as it does not compromise the sovereignty of the country. When I talked about this kind of agreement with the president that has been fulfilled or finalized during the day of the elections, I tell you that they were actually, in this regard, actually about having the sovereignty, the protection of Lebanon uncompromised by any kind of agreement or by any relation with any country.
Well, in hopes, Doctor, that this actually ferments into something that is in the interest of the Lebanese Republic. I want to thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim Moussaoui, Lebanese Member of Parliament, for the loyalty to the resistance bloc Hezbollah. Thanks a million for your time
Pleasure
for being with us today. And please stay tuned. Next, we are going to talk about the challenges that will be facing the new president in Lebanon. With backing from the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, Joseph Aoun's presidency in Lebanon hinges on delicate political maneuvering, especially when it comes to managing Lebanon's sovereignty in the face of Israeli entity aggression. As he steps into the role, Aoun must navigate the complex web of domestic alliances and foreign pressures, making his presidency a balancing act of unprecedented proportions. More details in the following report. Finally, we have a president. This was the common sentiment among many Lebanese citizens following the election of General Joseph Aoun as president. The parliament majority, though uneasy, was won by the fifth military candidate who transitioned from the army to the Baabda palace. This occurred during the second round of voting, just before Joseph Aoun was officially declared president, with all 128 parliamentary members present. Around 100 invited guests, including ambassadors, security leaders, judges, senior state officials, and journalists, witnessed the end of a political deadlock that lasted over 2 years, marked by extraordinary internal and external developments. Among the guests were the ambassadors from the Quintet nations, strategically seated to oversee the results of their pressure and ensure parliamentarians complied with the directive to vote for the international candidate as instructed by Washington, Riyadh, and Paris. The session itself was uneventful, proceeding as planned after all the political calculations were in place. What followed was merely a performance where several MPs justified their actions with long explanations, insults, and accusations after Speaker Nabih Berri allowed them to elaborate on the dangers of amending the Constitution. In reality, the true behind-the-scenes activity had occurred 48 hours earlier, as intense communications and visits by U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein and French Le Drian took place. It could be said that the final decision was made after difficult negotiations with Hezbollah and the Amal movement, who deliberately delivered a clear message. No president can be imposed without their agreement. Joseph Aoun could not become president without their votes, and they made it clear that presidents cannot be made without their involvement. The message was evident during the first round of voting, where Aoun received 71 votes, despite MPs from Hezbollah's resistance bloc and Amal casting blank ballots, an indication that the Shia component held the final and decisive political and numerical say in the matter. In the meantime, President Joseph Aoun faces significant challenges in handling any possible future Zionist-Israeli aggression and territorial ambitions, particularly in relation to Lebanon's offshore resources and land grab greed in South Lebanon. With strong backing from the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, Aoun will have little room to maneuver on issues that conflict with Israeli entity interests, as both powers have set clear red lines to protect Zionist Israel's strategic goals. Balancing national sovereignty and defense with the diplomatic expectations of his foreign patrons will be a delicate and risky task for the new president. Now to discuss this issue with us from Beirut is Mr. Ilyas Farhat, retired Lebanese Army Brigadier General. A pleasure and an honor to have you with us.
Thank you.
General, how do you assess General Joseph Aoun's presidency in the context of Lebanon's traditional political dynamics and foreign influence as well, particularly from the US and Saudi Arabia? And do you believe that this external backing will impact his ability to act independently in the face of Israeli aggression for once?
Yes, it was very clear, and it was in public and on air, foreign intervention in the Lebanese elections of the president of Lebanon. The U.S. envoy, Mr. Hochstein, came and appeared on TV stations and met so many parliamentary blocs and forced them to elect General Aoun. The same, the Saudi envoy, Prince Yazid bin Farhan, he went and for most of the parliamentary blocs, and especially the Lebanese forces who were opposing the election of General Aoun, he forced them and he obliged them to go and visit General Aoun before the elections, as well as the French envoy, Mr. Le Drian, came and said, we want General Aoun first, second, third, no other alternative. Mm-hmm. So it is a clear intervention from foreign forces. They aim at implementing their point of view or their policy on Lebanon. But you know that according to Lebanese constitution and the accord, Taif Accord document, mm-hmm. The executive authority works in consensus and not on a majority and minority. So I think that the President of the Republic has to be aware of this article in the Constitution and in the Taif Agreement, and make all his decisions with consensus and by dialogue with all political parties in order to conclude a decision that is agreed by all the parties concerned. Mm-hmm. So I think if the foreign forces, the foreign countries pressed more, that should be not a support for the president, but they are putting obstacles against his march to implement his speech oath when he assumed responsibility in the parliament. Mm-hmm. So I think we are the more the intervention from those foreign countries, the more the situation will be unstable.
Okay, well, General, given that President Aoun has been backed, just as you said, both by Washington and by Riyadh, how much flexibility do you think he will have in confronting Zionist Israeli territorial ambitions, particularly in South Lebanon and maybe in the offshore resources of Lebanon and the sea, without risking diplomatic fallout from these specific powers? I mean, we're seeing a fallout right now because of the names that are being hit for Prime Minister. He hasn't even begun yet.
Yes, the first issue that will the President of the Republic face is withdrawal of the Israeli forces from occupied parts in southern Lebanon, and moreover the aggressions against Lebanon by the Lebanese air forces and the Lebanese soldiers who are blowing up houses and facilities in South Lebanon. So we have an interval of time until January 27. They should complete the 60 days which were in the announcement of ceasefire concluded by the United States and France. So now, after January 27, if Israel stayed in some parts, how much it was little, or they committed an aggression to Lebanon, the situation will be different, and the President of the Republic will not be able to implement anything of what he is promising the Lebanese people, and all the attention will be directed towards the Israeli aggressions and the Israeli occupation of some parts of Lebanon, and that will force the Lebanese people, the Lebanese parties, the Hezbollah, the resistance, to take measures in order to stop the aggressions of Israel, and things will change totally.
But there's something, before I end off with the last question, there's something that he said in his oath, and it was that he wants to make sure that the weapons are within the hands of the Republic only. Is that a message to Hezbollah in the event Israel strikes again?
Yes, let me discuss it. Under Resolution 1701, the area between the Blue Line and the Litani River should be only under the Lebanese army and the United Nations forces, the UNIFIL, and no other forces. That means the resistance will be deployed there. Hezbollah and Amal and all Lebanese people and the government agree with to implement the terms and conditions of the 1701 in this area southern of Litani. But if he wants to move to other parts of Lebanon, such as Bekaa or north of Litani, that's not legal. It's not under the 1701. That will be another measure which is not based on any international resolution. If some people talk about Resolution 1559, which says that to dissolve the militias, the dissolving of militias is the decision of the Lebanese government, and the Lebanese government issued many times decrees and resolutions that the resistance is not a militia. That means it's not subject to 1559.
Because according to the Lebanese constitution,
Yes.
the resistance is an actual part
Yes.
of the Lebanese force
Yes.
to defend and protect the country.
Yeah.
But in addition to the external pressures, Brigadier General, Lebanon also faces significant internal challenges, including rampant corruption and political instability. How do you think President Aoun can navigate these domestic issues while also dealing with the external threat posed by a potentially unstable Syria, for example, on Lebanon's border?
Yes, it's really there is a change. The situation in Syria changed, and the people that are in power in Syria still do not reveal their real policy against Lebanon. They said that they have no enemy in the area, in the region, but only Iran and Hezbollah, which means that they have hostility against some parts of Lebanon, which constitute a danger one day. I'm not saying tomorrow or today, but one day there will be a danger, because this is what they say. I mean, this is one danger in addition to the Israeli aggression and the Israeli occupation. I don't think that these external issues and external conflicts will allow President Aoun to go on in his agenda to fight corruption, which all the Lebanese people support him in any measure or in any enacting a law or any other executive measures in order to fight corruption in all administrations of the state.
Yeah. Well, it definitely seems that we need to wait and see what kind of relationship the new power in Syria wants to forge with Lebanon, given the fact that Hezbollah is part of the Lebanese fabric, it is part of the Lebanese parliament, which means this is a danger for all of Lebanon. But as you said, we need to wait and see what happens next. I want to thank you very much, Brigadier General Ilyas Farhat, retired Lebanese Army Brigadier General. Ladies and gents, I want to thank you very much for watching. Please do follow us on our Telegram and on X to get more updates about the region of West Asia right here on Press TV's The Middle East Stream. Assalamu alaikum.